So I'm sitting over there, like writing nicely, preparing for my 15 minutes of PDF, and I start getting buzzed from CNN. They want to know if I can come on right now and comment on this story that's happening right now from the Washington Post. National Security Agency and the FBI are tapping directly into the central servers of 9 leading U.S. internet companies, extracting audio, video, photographs, emails, documents, and connection logs that enable analysts to track a person's movements and contacts over time. The highly classified program, codenamed PRISM, has not been disclosed publicly before. Its establishment in 2007, 6 years of blah, 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 blah. And you go on, it's a remarkable thing. The technology companies which participate knowingly in PRISM operations include most of the dominant global players of Silicon Valley. They are listed on a roster that bears their logos in order of entry into the program: Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Paltalk, AOL, Skype, YouTube, Apple. Dropbox, the cloud storage and synchronization service, is described as coming soon. Get off there fast, man. So it's like, do we have time to do this, or must we attend? Right? Must we attend to this story? I think we can wait 15 minutes before we rush out to the... Remember those movies like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? So they rush out to the phones to call and say, oh, he's standing, he's doing this, he's burning the Bible, oh my God. What's he doing? It's strange. I mean, it's strange that it's come to this. It didn't work out, so far at least, quite how I anticipated. You know, when we got digital technology, when we first got it, you know, for me it was in the mid-'80s, I thought it was going to be the harbinger of additional slack. You know, here was a technology that would literally make time for us. Right? Instead of having to be one of these punch the clock, time is money, you know, drones or yuppie scum, we were going to get to work at home in our underwear, in our own time, on stuff we wanted to do, and exchange it directly in a peer-to-peer fashion with other people in our early Burning Man Etsy universe of Slack. Right? But it seemed to me, you know, something happened on the way home from Wired magazine, right? You know, instead of embracing what I see as the bias and possibilities of a digital age, some good friends of ours ended up using the net as kind of the last poster child for the NASDAQ Stock Exchange, right? That this, rather than being the entree to a new digital universe or a new digital social landscape, it would be a way to amplify and resuscitate the dying landscape of corporate capitalism. Right? We had run out of territory. We couldn't take over any more little countries of little brown people and steal their stuff anymore. Oh, we can, but it's not a growth business anyway. So we turned human time into the new commodity, right? Human time, human attention became the new landscape for growth. So instead of using these technologies the way they were designed, right, to time shift, right, instead of using email as something that sits there and the phone as something you have to go answer, we started to think of email as something you have to go answer. Right? We strap our devices to our bodies and have them vibrate every time somebody pings us or updates us or Facebooks us or tweets about something that we might have tweeted about, and have it vibrate and distract us and prod us for attention. And we all end up living in this state of perpetual emergency interruption that used to be only endured by 911 operators and air traffic controllers. And now we all walk around getting phantom vibration syndrome. Right? And just as I believe we misapplied digital technology temporally, I think we misapplied it democratically. Right? We didn't get the open source democracy dream of participatory politics. Instead, we got a new way for campaigns to raise money. Basically, you even look at the way the great Obama used technology, used the internet. He was great for campaigning, but terrible for governing. Right? It was great for the win, for the beginning, middle, end of a campaign, to win a campaign and end it. But it was really bad at helping us develop a sustainable approach towards governance or towards civics. And I believe that we have the opportunity to embrace the time-shifting and what I see as the true human presentism of a digital age. But so far, I find us instead in a kind of a panicky present shock, which is what I write about. Present shock, the inability to really embrace the present. This sense of the human reaction of living in an always-on world where everything happens at once. But the beauty and the horror of living in a presentist universe, in this post-9/11, post-millennial, post-Y2K present. Right? This world where we're no longer leaning towards the future, the great goal, where we don't have the revolutionary eye on the prize, where we don't have a great ends justify the means journey to organize our passage towards Moshiach, towards revolution, towards our billionaire prize. When we don't have stories, we don't have room for a beginning, a middle, and an end. Which is why we were talking about these kinds of television shows. We end up in a world where we don't have movies that we watch in order to get to the end. We end up in much more of a fantasy role-playing game, where we're playing in order to keep the game going, where we watch Game of Thrones not to see who gets the throne, but to get to the next week. And the same thing is true of our campaigns, or could be, where we're no longer playing in order to win, but in order to keep the game going, where we're no longer governing in order to have victories, but in order to sustain. And I see really two main reactions from our political communities to presentism. One, and this is not about right-left, this is just about shock versus presentism. One is the Tea Party movement, which is, to me, is that first reaction to a presentist world, where we no longer have long-term goals. What are we going to do first? Well, then I want it now. I want it right now. And we get that kind of impetuous impatience. Give it to me now, and if you don't give it to me now, it's because you're bad. I don't want anything in the way. I don't want a policy. I don't want a thing. I don't want legislation. I don't want spending. I just want it now. Give now. Give. Right? Or on the other side of the spectrum, you get the occupier. Right? The occupier is in the eternal present. We are patient. We have no demands. There is no we might have a goal, but we're going to talk about that later. We've got time. Right? We are here. We are here. We are in the park, and we are going to sit here until we reach complete consensus. It's all good. I'm here. We're here. We're here. We're here now. Right? This sort of groping towards a steady state. I mean, I think it's a more mature, it's unbearable, but it's a more mature present, it's a true presentist response to, to present shock. Right? A lot of this does have to do with living in a digital media environment. That's really what we're contending with. The kind of clocks I had when I was a kid were of the industrial age, and they were round. Right? And they had, every minute had a story to it. As I watched my alarm clock when I went to bed at night, it was 9:01. It'd be the beginning of 9:01, and the second hand's going around the clock. Oh, we're getting around toward the middle now. Almost, oh my gosh, it's half over. Now we're rounding the corner toward the end of that minute, and it's coming up. Oh, it's almost a new minute. 9:01, 9:01, 9:02, a new minute. We're here. Fresh day, new horizon. Right? Every minute had that story. And when my dad came in, he replaced my analog alarm clock with a digital alarm clock. And it was the old kind of digital alarm clock with the little numbers that flip down. It wasn't even, remember those? It's like 9:01, 9:02. Right? That's discrete. That's digital, right? That is digital. You're here, or you're here, right? There's no here, right? Just boom, right? So digital time is just, it's this eternal present, right? It's a minute is no longer some portion of an hour. A minute is an absolute duration, right? Right? It's absolute, it's self-defined. But when we're living in a present, when we're stuck in this present, right, when everything is always on and we're just here now, institutionally, it puts us in a weird state of crisis management. Right, just as the individual we're just dealing with this tweet or this email or that email. Or that. You get through your day and you've answered all your emails, but that's made more emails and I'm done. Right, there's no plan, there's no career, you're not gonna write a book like that, right? You're just gonna, That's where government's at. That's where, what do you think Obama's doing now? Just crisis after crisis after crisis. There's no sense of goals, there's no sense of policies, it becomes purely tactical. Right, that's the present shock of a digital political landscape. What would the presentism be of a real-time political landscape? Presentism would be connecting to what's actually happening now, to what's really happening now. It's what my colleague and former student Josh Begley did with DroneStream. Oh, there's a drone, someone just got killed just now. Oh, someone else got just killed right now, right? You can receive on your tweets, you get drone alerts, find out when the drones are dropping things. Or go to, have you heard of slaveryfootprint.org? Slaveryfootprint.org, it's a great website. You can go to it and find out how many slaves are working for you right now. You type in, the size of your house, whether you have an air conditioner, whether you have a car, what kind of clothes you buy. How many slaves are working for you right now? It's the difference between, say, one way to think of it, in the industrial age, we had cubism, right, which gave us the ability to look at an object from multiple places at the same time, right? Now, we're in an age, in the 21st century, in a digital age, we're in an age of mashup, where you can actually have multiple times in the same place. Right? That's this kind of digiphrenic response that we're having, where we can either use it to touch things, use it to connect to things and people in a real way, or use it to panic. Right? I think the opportunity is to push on digital in the way we see it when we're kind of happiest about it. And that's when it's pushing on the local. That's when it's pushing on the direct. It's when it's pushing on the human over the institutional. It scales back away from the industrial age and back towards individuals and people. I honestly believe the emergence of digital technology is the biggest reversal in democracy since the Enlightenment. But it's a reversal. It's not a continuation. It's funny, the first time I came to speak at PDF, I talked about personal democracy, and I hated the word personal democracy. So what's personal democracy? Sitting in your bedroom with your laptop doing personal? There is no personal democracy. Right, but now I actually want to pick on the word democracy. Democracy feels, at least the way we understand it now, it feels like an artifact of the industrial age and the Enlightenment and individualism and individual perspectives, one man, one vote. Oh, we're all these individuals and going to vote up to these great ideals and these great things and then send a person. It's part of that individualistic one man, one vote abstraction. You get the big bad corporation on the one hand. Sure, they're terrible, so now we're going to make a big abstract union to go fight that corporation. Right, it's a good tactic if you're going to live in a world with corporations, but what about if you're living in a digital world where we can begin to do things directly and not even have corporations? Where we don't need to borrow money from the banks in order to get a business going? When you don't need a factory to enter your town in order to have an economy. When you realize, oh my gosh, we can have a peer-to-peer economy and not have any of that at all. Then what do? While the industrial age led to the invention of the individual and all of these big abstract institutions to organize them, the digital age promotes collectivism. It promotes consensus building. It's less about abstraction than it is about implementation. Right? It's less about joining some union than doing actual real peer-to-peer exchange. I don't think, it's not about direct democracy, right? Because democracy was never direct. It wasn't meant to be direct. Democracy was meant to be indirect. That was its point. But democracy, just like managing a corporation, just like anything in the industrial age, just like anything with a nice long time horizon where we're going to aim and campaign, it's tactical, right? It's debated. It's a debated process. Right? And I don't know that that's the way what we want to amplify with digital technology. I don't want to amplify the debate. I don't want to amplify the voting process. I don't want to amplify the political parties or the political campaign process. What I would rather do is start growing things like Anonymous, is start growing things like Meetup, like Black Girls Who Code, like missed calls that you use to actually connect with people and make issues known. Those are post-democratic, at least as we understand democracy. So there is the present shock version of democracy, of net-era digital democracy. And that's sort of the big data, moneyed BS digital corporatocracy, which is not interesting to me, frightening to me, actually. The opportunity instead in a presentist digital landscape is a people-powered, real-time, locally biased, human-centric culture of activism. And I think we are on the brink of that. And if we are, then I'm much, much less worried about stories like this. Let them read my friggin' email. Because I'm going to belong to the real world. Okay, thanks a lot. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.